Ambassador Krell stood on the observation deck of the diplomatic vessel, his four eyes scanning the empty void of space beyond the neutral zone. The Galactic Council had sent him to establish first contact with the species calling themselves humans, a relatively new addition to the interstellar community. According to intelligence reports, these bipedal creatures had barely achieved faster-than-light travel 50 cycles ago. The ambassador's assistant, Vex, approached with a data pad clutched in his tentacled appendages. "Sir, we've received confirmation from the human delegation. They're requesting to meet at coordinate 77 Alpha just outside the Sol system." Krell nodded, his scaled head bobbing with practiced diplomatic composure. "Excellent. How large is their escort fleet? 3 vessels? 5 at most, I presume?" Vex hesitated, his bioluminescent patches flickering nervously. "Actually, sir, they haven't specified fleet composition. They simply confirmed the meeting location." The ambassador dismissed the concern with a wave of his hand. Young species were often secretive about their limited military capabilities, embarrassed by their technological inferiority. The Council's own escort consisted of 12 state-of-the-art cruisers, more than sufficient to demonstrate galactic power while maintaining diplomatic courtesy. 3 days later, as their fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the designated coordinates, Krell prepared for what he expected would be a routine first contact protocol. He had conducted 17 such meetings throughout his career, each following the same predictable pattern. The newcomer species would present their finest vessels, usually numbering between 3 and 8 ships, desperately trying to appear impressive while clearly outmatched by superior galactic technology. "Dropping to sublight, Ambassador," announced Captain Dorr from the bridge, scanning for the human delegation now. Krell adjusted his ceremonial robes and prepared to review the standard greeting protocols when the ship's proximity alarms began blaring. Red lights bathed the observation deck as the crew scrambled to their stations. "Captain, what's the situation?" Krell demanded, his diplomatic calm wavering slightly. Dorr's voice crackled through the intercom, strained with disbelief. "Sir, you need to see this yourself. The sensor readings are impossible." The ambassador hurried to the bridge, Vex trailing behind. What he saw on the main display screen made his blood run cold. The space around them was filled with ships, not dozens, not hundreds, thousands upon thousands of human vessels stretched across the void in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming under the distant starlight. "How many?" Krell whispered, his voice barely audible above the bridge's urgent chatter. The sensor operator, his hands trembling as he worked the controls, looked up with wide eyes. "Initial count shows approximately 15,000 vessels, sir, but we're still detecting more arriving from hyperspace." As if summoned by those words, brilliant flashes of light erupted across space as additional human fleets materialized from faster-than-light travel. Each new arrival added hundreds more ships to the already overwhelming display of force. Massive dreadnoughts, sleek destroyers, carrier vessels the size of small moons, and countless support craft formed an armada that dwarfed anything in Galactic Council records. Krell gripped the railing, his knuckles white beneath his scales. In 50 years of diplomatic service, he had never witnessed such a display of raw military power. The combined fleets of the 3 most advanced Council species couldn't match what floated before them. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," the communications officer reported, her voice steady despite the circumstances. A hologram materialized in the center of the bridge, showing a human male with graying hair and kind eyes. He wore a simple blue uniform adorned with minimal insignia, presenting an almost casual appearance that contrasted sharply with the overwhelming force surrounding them. "Greetings, Ambassador Krell. I'm Admiral Ross of the Earth Defense Fleet. We apologize for the delay in our arrival. We wanted to ensure proper representation for this historic meeting." Krell struggled to find his voice. "Admiral, your fleet is quite impressive. We weren't expecting such extensive numbers." The human smiled, a gesture that somehow managed to appear both friendly and unsettling given the circumstances. "These are just our local defense forces, Ambassador. We thought it appropriate to bring enough ships to properly honor the occasion. After all, first contact with the Galactic Council is rather significant for us." "Local defense forces?" Vex whispered, Behind Krell, his tentacles coiling nervously, Admiral Ross continued speaking as if he hadn't heard the comment. We've prepared accommodations aboard our flagship for the diplomatic proceedings. We're quite excited to learn about council policies, trade agreements, and mutual defense treaties. Earth has been rather isolated, and we're eager to contribute to galactic stability. The word contribute carried implications that weren't lost on anyone present. Krell realized with growing horror that humanity hadn't requested this meeting to seek protection or guidance. They were announcing their presence as equals, backed by military might that could reshape the balance of power throughout known space. Of course, Krell managed, his diplomatic training finally overriding his shock. We look forward to productive discussions. As the transmission ended, silence fell over the bridge. The crew stared at the impossible sight before them, processing the reality that everything they thought they knew about galactic hierarchy had just changed forever. Vex approached cautiously. Sir, should we contact the Council? Ambassador Krell continued staring at the human armada, watching as additional ships continued materializing from hyperspace jumps. Yes, he said quietly. Tell them we're going to need a much larger diplomatic team. Outside the viewports, the human fleet waited with patient confidence, 15,000 vessels serving as humanity's introduction to a galaxy that would never be the same again.